AskReddit by deleted. What's a musical hill you're willing to die on? Radio stations should play more than 250 songs. My dad got so frustrated with this that he did a Google marathon to find out why. Apparently, radio stations figured out that people only listen for 20-30 minutes on average, on their commute. They also do not care about listener experience, as listeners do not add or subtract to their revenue, unless they are small stations. Their money comes from ads, so it's more economically viable to just play the same 100 songs on a loop, and pay for just those 100 songs, than to add variety. That one hill that Maria was singing on in The Sound of Music was pretty nice. I'd die there. Be careful, dog, those hills are alive. I couldn't give two shits about my favorite band being in the Hall of Fame. Talent shows have added little or no value to music as a whole. Why are talent shows almost all music anyway? Let's hear some jokes or poetry. Let's see some paintings or hand-knitted sweaters. Every generation has at least one song universally known despite music tastes that replays in their head at random like a bad commercial jingle. I like big butts and I cannot lie. If you're in the right place at the right time, Orinoco Flow is one of the greatest driving songs ever. Edit. I haven't seen Gran Turismo or The Hyundai. Last year I did a driving trip. There were long stretches of coastline with mountains on one side and ocean on the other. It was evening with the sun going down, still warm enough to have the windows open and cruise, but the sky was different shades of red and stormy out over the ocean. The song suited perfectly. I celebrate Ena's entire collection. There are incredible awesome songs in almost all genres. Classic rock hasn't intentionally become its own genre, and music that is a certain age doesn't belong in it. The Red Hot Chili Peppers, the Foo Fighters, etc. do not belong on a playlist with Rush, Journey, The Knack, etc. We spent our entire childhood listening to the local classic rock station when our parents drove us places, and as such I do not associate classic rock with songs that are X years old. The bands on those stations are classic rock. Always and forever. The bands I grew up with were always on the alternative rock stations, and they should stay there. It isn't that I feel the cold hand of mortality upon me when I hear The Offspring on a classic rock station. It's that I wanted to hear some Ozzy, man. Jim Styx. Jim Rio Speedwagon. I heard Hoobastank and Sugar Ray on a classic rock station, like WTF. No Doubt was a great band. Gwen Stefani not so good on her own, even if she has taught many a person how to spell bananas. Tragic Kingdom is an amazing album. Weird Al Yankovic is a genius and his like will never come again. Partially because he was at the right time in history. So much has changed now that what he did is no longer possible. Not to mention the level of talent in his backing band. They have to be proficient at a professional level in pretty much every genre of music. John Bermuda Schwartz is an underrated drummer for this reason. The Spice Girls had genuinely good fun music, and I don't just like it for nostalgia reasons. I understand they were a put together girl band who didn't write their music. I'm not saying they were groundbreaking pop stars. It's just whenever I say I do genuinely like some of their songs, everyone always laughs. Go back and listen to Say You'll Be There and Never Give Up on the Good Times and tell me they're not actually decent songs. That's wild. You need to hang out with better people. Everyone I know goes crazy for the Spice Girls unironically. They'll never be corny. Their songs are genuinely fantastic. Even Mama, who writes songs about loving their mum anymore. Most Christian music is basically just modern country music with more talk about God and less talk about tractors. This reminds me of the episode Christian Rock Hard on South Park. Not to make everything sad, but I've been going through a hard time after my mother passed away a couple weeks ago, and it was the anniversary of my dad's passing only a couple days before she passed. Thanks for giving me responses to jokingly respond to or just generally acknowledge talk about. It's taken my mind off a tough time. I'm here for all the comments. I really wasn't expecting this many replies. I'm just sat on a hotel balcony because of work. I appreciate you all. I had the best time putting together music for my mum that passed away too soon. Her songs resonate with me so much for all the memories that go with it. Love it and cherish it. Every genre has great pieces and every genre has tribe. Popularity and artistic integrity are not diametrically opposed. Something doesn't need to have artist integrity to be good either. It's okay to like cheesy simplistic bullshit. Music is about sharing a time and space with another person, and conveying a feeling. It doesn't need to be a brilliant work of art every time. Music is art. Like any art, if it doesn't speak to you, you're not the target for it. That said, there's plenty of music that's just there to occupy time, like hotel paintings. Art, pretty much like food, is a binary description. It either is or it isn't art food. What it doesn't do is rate its quality. Sometimes you want Coltrane and a nice dinner. Sometimes you want greasy pizza and rake. Everything has its place. Sirens and alarms have no place in music, especially when I'm driving. Lady Gaga is a better performer, singer and artist than Madonna. I don't consider myself a Lady Gaga fan by any stretch. But I will defend this hill with you until I bleed out. Classical is underrated. Old classical and new classical is the bomb. Do yourself a favor and get into that shit. I'm convinced that people who think classical music is boring have never actually listened to classical music. All those garbage talent shows have really emphasized the idea that classical music is a snoozer fest and anyone who gets up on that stage to play Blue Danube is a joke. Like, yes, there are plenty of slow songs, but then there's a symphony of the planets. You think you'll sleep through Mars? Not to mention the way the genre is still carried on through media like video games. If you like Bloodborne's tunes but you say you hate classical music, I have news for you. It's widely accepted here on Reddit but not as much in the real world, but Weird Al is a freaking musical genius whose work and personality puts him in the pantheon with Bob Ross and Steve Irwin. Side note, Weird, the Al Yankovic story is hilariously unhinged. Daniel Radcliffe and Evan Rachel Wood are fantastic. Everyone should watch it. Modern country music is unlistenable. Every time I hear stadium country I think of Bo Burnham's song Pandering. Video game music is real music. That's all. Peace. Nobuo Uematsu is one of the greatest modern composers. Many modern rock artists are just as talented and capable of producing amazing music as the legends of before. The reason we don't see as many culturally dominant superstars like Hendrix, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Queen, etc. is because we listen to music differently. When radio was the main way people listened to music, whoever the stations pushed was it. There were underground scenes but it was so much more limited. Now you have a litany of choices and it doesn't really matter as much who studios push. An absolutely amazing artist with like 100 followers on Spotify can be heard just as easily as say the Struts. This is good and bad, because it creates a wider pool of artists that are heard but it doesn't create the massive superstars like there used to be. To expand on your second paragraph, people in the 60s 90s didn't have the ability to self-select the music as easily as they do now. Even with the advent of CDs, they were prohibitively expensive if you wanted to amass a huge collection of music. And the radio was the background to so many public spaces, the music you were exposed to was very narrow. Last Christmas isn't even the best Wham song. Everything She Wants is a fucking jam. Fun fact: Wham hoped that Last Christmas would win the much coveted Christmas #1 spot in the UK, but do they know It's Christmas was released on the same day and took the #1 spot? Wham subsequently donated all proceeds to the Ethiopian Famine Relief Fund. Being a jerk about the music other people like might be a part of growing up, but if you don't grow out of it you most likely have some issues with yourself you need to work out. Muse is a band that you sort of outgrow. I feel like Matt Bellamy outgrew the ability to write good lyrics.